Oh. I need to figure out something. All right. So, I just got up from a nap not too long ago, and it's a needed nap. Today, it's my day. I'm off today, not doing anything besides this and watching mindless, mind-numbing television. So, hello everyone, my name is Psychic Medium Sean Michael Rutherford. Hope y'all are all having a wonderful day. Today's discussion is about the age-old question, why? We only have a short amount of time to tackle this wonderful, broad topic question, why? So we're going to focus on 3 different areas. Why mediumship? Why psychic reading, tarot? Why past life? I've been reading for 16 years. I have been learning about psychic readings. I've been learning about the spiritual world for 16 years, half of my life. And I have been working professionally for 13. And when I say that is that I started reading tarot cards and reading psychically at 16 and started doing it professionally for money as a business, as a professional at 19. However, I think I really got interested in the spiritual world around 14, 15, and when I started noticing, a lot of oddities and growing up in a very haunted house, my mother and I started having a lot of conversations about what happened in that house when I was around 13, 14, and a lot of experiences became validated that I had by my mother, and so I really started looking at things with a bit more of an open eye around 14, 15. And the one thing I have come across a lot in my time in my life as a professional psychic and a spiritual medium is the question of why. Why should I get a reading? Why should I get this type of reading? Why should I get a psychic reading? Why should I get a mediumship reading? Why should I wash my clothes on a Tuesday? Oh wait, that's off topic. Why should I get this service? And it is an interesting topic because the answer is not really clear cut. It's not a because you should answer. It's a let's discuss answer. So we're going to have that discussion today. Starting off, how about we get into some definitions about what each type of reading, at least that I provide, really is. I can't speak for types of readings and spiritual readings that I don't do. However, I would love for you to comment below what type of readings you do that might be different than what I am currently speaking about. Because I love learning about different types of readings and hearing from different types of people. And so by all means, feel free to share your experiences in the comments below. So, at 16, I started reading tarot cards. So, tarot cards or psychic readings are a lot more about information, yes and no questions that need to be answered with a bit more detail. Or am I going to get this job? Yes, but here's what you need to do to be sure you get it, or here's what could be standing in your way. These are open-ended questions, not closed-ended questions, and have a lot to do about your life and what's going on in your world and what's to be expected. A lot of questions I get are, is there an issue at work that I could be in trouble with? There's a lot of weird things going on at work. What's going on with me and my partner? I get a lot of questions about love, relationships, money, luck, jobs, travel, moving. Is my house haunted? All of that. I get questions of all types when it comes to psychic readings and tarot readings, because this is about life. The tarot is the journey of life. Starts with the Fool and ends with the world and the universe. And it breaks into 4 different suits. Wands, swords, pentacles, and chalices, which have to do with energy and thought process and emotions and money. And psychic readings are a lot more about what's going on in someone's life. I don't know how else to say that, because it's like, I know I'm sort of saying the same thing over and over again. People, if you who want to understand their lives deeper, get psychic readings. They get tarot readings. They get readings that have to do with what's going on with them. On the odd occurrence, I do get people asking me about their health, what's going on with their body. It's not something that I'm super comfortable discussing, because I am not a doctor. I don't diagnose things. I don't do anything like that. That's inappropriate, as I am not a physician. But people ask questions about what they're worried about, what they're concerned about. And that is what tarot or psychic readings are. It's about giving a higher perspective, a more bird's eye view of what's going on in someone's life. And it is very much about getting a better understanding, a deeper insight into the world that you're living in order for you to navigate blockages, in order for you to navigate potholes, in order for you to get where you want to go, but yet you feel like for some reason there's just a blockage there. There's some sort of thing holding you back. Sometimes we can see in a psychic reading that you have a cord that needs to be cut. Sometimes we see that you have baggage from trauma in your childhood, or you have an issue with a person in your life who, because of you putting them before yourself and you not prioritizing your well-being, it's holding you back. There's so many things that I could comment on that we see in a psychic reading that can affect your inability to move forward into your joys and move forward into the things in your life that would benefit you and allow you to blossom in your life. And we see them in psychic readings because not only are we seeing the future, not only are we seeing what's going to happen, we're also seeing what happened in the past. When I start a reading, I tell everyone that I'm looking into your file. I go into your filing cabinet, I pull out your file, and I see what's happened to you in your past. And what that does is it lets me see what's going to happen coming up. Because how you've dealt with things in the past directly affects how you deal with things in the future. For instance, people who are A-type personalities, who are very aggressive and bold and charge into the fight, are the kind of people who tend to run headfirst in the barriers and break them down. Whereas people who are a bit more passive and more receptive might wait for those barriers to move out of their way. And some barriers challenge you to see if you can change your way of doing things in order to achieve your goals. For instance, a person who is an A-type personality may find that as they bash their head against this block in their life, nothing happens, nothing changes, nothing corrects, nothing gets better. And that can simply be because they're not meant to bash their head against it. It could be that they're supposed to be patient and wait and let this barrier come down on its own as they sit there in faith, in hope that it's going to work just fine. People who are a bit more passive might need to be able to summon an aggressive strike against their obstacles, and force them to come down, just to show that they have the passion to fight for their lives. And of course, this is, when I say fight, I don't mean actual like physical fighting. I'm talking about standing up for yourself. And so in psychic readings, we can see if this is a type of obstacle that you should embrace your truth, or this is a lesson that you need to learn. A lot of this can come from what kind of what cards fall in your reading. Some psychics just read through clairvoyance and clairaudience and just read psychically without cards, and they use what symbols and what messages they receive to tell you what you should do. I do both. I do receive psychic messages, and I do receive messages without tarot cards, both clairvoyantly and clairaudiently, and clairsentiently, which is through feeling and empathic feeling. But I also read tarot cards. I love reading tarot cards. I have done it, like I said, for 16 years, and it's a passion, even though I don't necessarily need them. It provides something for the client to see. It provides something for the person who is getting a reading to see these cards and get an idea of what I'm looking at, because I can do a reading without them or with them equally as well. But something about the symbolism of the tarot brings comfort to the client. And the client and their comfort and their well-being is all that matters. So a psychic reading is great if you feel like you are at a crossroads. If you feel like you are at a point in your life where you don't know if what you're doing is the problem or if what you're not doing is the problem. Sometimes it's just you feel stuck. Sometimes you just feel like you're in a place where I don't know what move to make. And you need to get a bird's eye perspective of what's going on in your life. There's a wonderful movie called Mothman Prophecies with Richard Gere, and I think it's Laura Linney. And Laura Linney is in it, I think. And this is a town called Point Pleasant that's being haunted by a spiritual being called the Mothman. And it sort of predicts tragedies that are going to happen and tries to give signs to people in the town. And Richard Gere speaks to this professor of supernatural studies, and he says, he visits this professor in this big city, and they're standing on this street, and it's a really busy, the street is completely gridlocked with traffic and bumper-to-bumper traffic. And Richard Gere's talking to this professor, and they, the professor's like, we don't know if the Mothman is actually psychic, if he can see the future, or if he just has a better point of view. And Richard Gere questions him. He's like, well, what do you mean? And the professor points to the top of this skyscraper, and about 10 to 15 stories up is a window washer sitting on a platform washing windows. And the professor tells Richard Gere, look at this traffic, we can see that there's traffic, but the man sitting 10 stories up washing windows has a higher perspective and can see further down the road and can tell us why there's traffic. Does it mean that he's better than us? Or does it mean that he just has a better vantage point? And ever since I watched that movie as a kid, I remember that scene very explicitly, because when I started reading cards and I started talking to people about being psychic, everyone's like, "Oh, you have these magical gifts. You're higher evolved. You're special." No. I mean, I'm special. I'm fabulous. But not because I'm a psychic, not because I read, not because I do any of that. Everyone can do this. Everyone can learn to be a psychic. Everyone has the potential to be a psychic, a medium, and all of that. Do I believe in varying degrees? Yes. Do I think some people have natural talents? Absolutely. I struggled my whole life in elementary school and middle school to make C's and B's. And I went to college and I started making A's. I mean, it's sometimes you excel in where you are, and sometimes you excel somewhere else. Um, you might be great at being a psychic, might not be great at being a medium. You might be amazing medium, but not do very well giving psychic readings. It's a very odd, thing. You just work harder. You just practice more on where you feel like you are struggling. But back to the conversation at hand. So yeah, a psychic reading is sort of like being up 10 stories and getting a bird's eye view of why there's traffic in your life. It's a really common, comfortable thing. I also want to interject this one education that I wish all of you learn and understand. Psychic readings, tarot cards are not the devil. They're not the devil. Okay. When I say all of us have the ability to be psychic, we come from a species as Homo sapiens, where we produce a field of energy. Call it the aura, call it an electromagnetic field that we produce, whatever you want to call it. We produce this energetic field. This happens from there being an energy within you that is circulating, that is constantly moving, that is constantly keeping you alive. Your brain creates an energy, your heart creates an electrical energy, and this energy is flowing through your body. This is what keeps you warm. All of this stuff, all of this work that your body does produces an energetic field. That field, much like gravity or magnetic field, can be felt. Maybe not consciously by most people, but can be felt by people. We come from a species where we're used to now being the top of the food chain. Rewind thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years at the beginning of mankind and humankind and Homo sapiens, we were not necessarily the top of the food chain. We had predators. We had animals that we really, really coexisted with that would try to eat us. Tigers, lions, bears. I really messed up on that. Lions, I really should have just said lions, tigers, and bears. Okay, so we have creatures that we live with now that we don't worry about so much anymore because we have learned to separate ourselves from them. But at the time, way back when, we lived in the same environment as those creatures. And we had to be able to sense when we were being hunted. And this sense, this sixth sense, law drop. I swear I'm much more eloquent than this. Is that chill in the back of your neck when something's off. It's that feeling that you're being watched. It's that feeling of something's wrong. Women have this a lot because back then when women were the gatherers, not the hunters, they'd be out in the forest gathering food, and they would have to be able to sense when they were being watched. They'd have to be able to sense when they were being preyed upon. Men, I feel from back then had to be a bit more spatially aware. So they were more connected to the energy around them in their area versus protection that women had, where they felt like they were being hunted, which is to this day how women know when something's off in a social situation. When they're somewhere out in public, women just know something's wrong and something's off, and they know when people are being disingenuous. And granted, that's not a rule. Men have that as well. I've always been very gifted in that, being able to be like a human lie detector, but my mom raised me to be like that, so I don't know. We have this sixth sense that lives within us. The only thing a psychic learns to do is take that God-given switch, and instead of it being an on-off switch, it's more of a dimmer. We learn to turn it up higher, 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 so that we can pick up things at will, and we learn how to turn it down lower, 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 so we don't bother and read people without their permission. We learn that over time. Do some people have a natural gift for that? Absolutely. As a kid, I always experienced things like that. Growing up, I always experienced being able to tap into people's energy and read them and pick up on their feelings and things like that. But I had a lot of trauma. I had a lot of reasons why, as a safety mechanism, I could do that. I had to learn how to bring down that dimmer. But psychic readings are there to help you find yourself, help you figure out where you're headed in your life, help you see your soul in a deeper view. Psychics are the researchers of the human spirit. We work to understand humanity and how people live and exist as human beings on an intuitive level. And when you get a psychic reading, you're having someone help you tap into your life stream, your consciousness of your life. Because for some reason or another, you're not able to get a good, unbiased perspective, and that's okay. There's reasons why we go to the doctor. There's reasons why we go to the hospital. There's reasons why we go see a therapist. Because for some reason, we're not able to get an unbiased or educated understanding of what's going on with that part of our life. When I sprained my foot, I woke up the next day, I thought it was broken. I was wrong. I went to the hospital, had x-rays, it was not broken. I am a very, very bad intuitive when it comes to reading my own body. Well, I lie, but I can read my body very, very well unless I'm anxious. So say my heart starts to flutter. Say I start having like rapid heartbeat, which runs in my mother's family. I'll start to panic because this sense of like life and death situation comes over me, and I have a hard time focusing on what is right with my body. And it might cause me to go to the hospital and have it checked. I can't be unbiased at that time because I'm afraid of my situation. So I go have someone else take a look at it. The same can be said when you get a psychic reading. You're doing all these things, all this stuff is going on in your life, all this chaos is happening, and you're concerned about it. You're afraid about what decision to make. So you go see an expert. You go see a psychic, someone who can pinpoint all this stuff that's going on around you and look at it for you. Sometimes you need to work out what's going on in your head, so you go see a therapist. There's nothing wrong with any of that. You go and you see the expert that is best to handle the situation at hand. So a psychic reading is great for when you have questions, when there's chaos in your life that you're unsure about how to deal with, when you feel lost, when you feel stuck, when you feel that you're at a crossroads. Also, it's really great if there's major decisions going on in your life. Like I do a lot of divorces. I read for a lot of people who are going through divorce, and I read for a lot of people who are going through trying to decide which jobs to apply for, and I read for a lot of people who are looking to sell and move to a new home, location, city, whatever. For some reason, and I do not know why, for the life of me, I do not know why, I, for some reason, know how I am gifted at reading about legal situations. I am not a lawyer. I am not educated in the law at all. And so I don't give legal advice. But I somehow, every time I have someone who comes to me about legal stuff, every time I read on it, it's clear as a bell, and it comes out exactly as I say. And it's not that I'm right. It's just how I'm getting it. Spirit is giving it to me correctly, and I'm receiving it correctly. I'll know when something is continued. I'll know when something's being discontinued. I'll know when something, and it, for the life of me, it shocks me every time. But for some reason, legal issues are easy for me to pick up, even though I have absolutely no idea how legal things work. Some people are really gifted at certain areas. I am not great when it comes to reading about relationships. I love reading about them, but I will always treat you, I will always read for you on what you can do about yourself to better the relationship. I don't really read on, when you're going to find a new boyfriend, when you're going to find a husband, because I don't get that information. I get what someone needs to do to heal themselves to be ready for a relationship. And that's important, but I don't generally do readings about love. It's not that I can't, it's just the information does not come through like what the client is usually expecting. Legal stuff, on the nose. But so psychic stuff is about life. Psychic readings are, and it's about life, and it's about it's about helping you unfold your life and understand the world around you better. I don't know how else to explain it any better, but psychic readings are all about helping you unfold your life. One of the downsides of psychic readings is sometimes the information we get doesn't happen. And it can be interpreted as something being wrong. Okay, so as a psychic, I carry myself to a very high standard of ethics. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I tell you something and you know it's being incorrect, please tell me no. I've done that often where I'm reading something about somebody and they're like, no, this is incorrect. But the important thing to remember is that the information may not actually be wrong. Here's why. The way I read, the way I have always seen things, is a plethora of avenues. When I connect into someone's life and I connect into someone's path, I see a number of roadways laying out in front of me. And that's their lives. So I might, for the sake of this explanation, I might see 5 avenues. Each avenue glows brighter or dimmer than others. The one that glows the brightest has the highest potential of the one that's going to actually happen. The one that glows the dimmest is the least likely to happen, or the least likely to be accurate. It's not that it's wrong, it's that based on how you live your life and the actions you take and the choices you make, you're least likely to go down this option. So when I read for people, I read about based on the path that glows the brightest. I read on the information that I get that seems the most likely. However, if I sit here and say, all right, client, I read and I see in the cards that you are going to buy a red car. In order for you to get this red car, you have to leave here, turn left on the next street, go down 4 blocks, turn right, and you will find that car. I might get a call 2 weeks later. I didn't see any red car. Okay. Well, what happened? Well, when I left your reading, I had to take a right because when I looked left, there were several cars gridlocked. And so I took a right instead of a left. And so when I took that right, I took another right to try to get back on track. And then I took that left and there was no car there. Okay, I don't get mad at that. You have the right to make a choice. You have the right to choose which way you go. But we as human beings have a significant flaw. We tend to be in a rush. We tend to be in a hurry in life. We tend to not have the patience needed for the universe to bring us that which is necessary. Case in point, when the client went to take a left and they saw that there were several cars in front of them at this stop, at this intersection, they were in a hurry to get somewhere, so they didn't go that way. They went another route to try to get to the same place. Sometimes it's not about the direction you're going. Sometimes it's about the time it takes you to get there. For instance, maybe that red car was never going to show up until 10, 20, 30 minutes later. And so they may have gotten to the same location, but they were there too early. Or maybe the other location was actually maybe the other route ended up actually taking longer than if they would have had the patience to wait for those cars to move. And the car showed up and was already gone by the time they got there. It's not that people are wrong. And don't get me wrong, I will say in just a minute that people can be wrong. But sometimes we have to understand that we have choices to make. Once you leave the psychic, you have choices to make. Spirit and the universe do not control your free will, and they won't control your free will. Your free will is yours to make at any time you wish. If you wish to change something, that is up to you. You can only the psychic can only offer you options. And while sometimes the things that we say do come true, no matter what, most of the time the psychic doesn't know which ones will and which ones won't. So there's that. People can be wrong, though. And I'm going to state this very, very, very clearly. And this is personal experience, this is a personal belief, and I speak for myself and I don't speak for anyone else. I'm not a fan of readers who push you to believe something that they're saying, even when you respond, no, that's incorrect. If a reader becomes aggressive and is forcing something for you to believe, I don't trust that. I don't like that aggressiveness. As a reader, we're not here to change you. We're here to help you. And if you choose to not believe something, or if something genuinely is not accurate, that's your choice. There's also people who don't believe in things that other people believe. I worship and I work with a lot of different kinds of spirit guides from different cultures, and I've had readers tell me that my guides are actually evil, and I know this to be incorrect because I keep myself at a vibration in which I only work with things that are of love and light. I grew up in a house that was very negatively haunted. I know what negative energy feels like. And I would never allow energy like that to exist within my reality, especially ones that are helping me help people heal or give them messages. And, that would be a big no. No. So when I go to a reader who begins to berate me on my belief system and tell me, no, you're wrong, that this is a bad thing. No, you just don't know that. I highly disagree with that behavior, and they are wrong. If you leave a psychic afraid, if you leave a psychic scared, if you leave from a psychic reading feeling abused, they are wrong. They have a problem. They are incorrect, and they are unethical. Psychic readings should also not be absorbently expensive. I charge $60 for 45 minutes. I don't know anyone else who does what I do who doesn't charge around the same price. Most of them who read, psychic readers, are $60 to $70 for an hour. Even the great psychics I've met are charged roughly the same price. There's a lot of ethical stuff that you have to look into, and if you go in there and you don't feel comfortable with what they're saying, and it seems just outlandish and wrong, trust your gut. No, if anyone has ever told you to pay $1,000 for a psychic reading, walk out, leave, don't look back, call me. Psychic readings are there to help you find guidance in your life in a way that fills the gaps where everything else hasn't. You've seen the therapist, you've seen the doctor, you've seen the lawyer, you've seen all these other people, and you still feel unsure. See a psychic. See a good, honest psychic. Let them work with you. Open yourself up. Trust them. Work with them. And let them help you find direction in where all else seems to be lacking. Are they 100% right all the time? Absolutely not. We can be wrong just as anyone else. I've seen burger flippers burn a burger. I've seen doctors misdiagnose people. I've seen lawyers not win their cases. No job, no career, nothing is 100% all the time. If anyone tells you that, they're lying and they're delusional. Psychics and mediums are just another career where we spend our lives pursuing this gift and this skill to help people heal. We're never 100%. We can be very, very good sometimes, and we can live a life of service and be very good sometimes. But we can still be wrong. We can still be incorrect. But a lot of times, and I'm going to say this with humility, a lot of times the issue is the client. One of the big things I will tell people is if you say no, that's fine, say no. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. If you say no, that's not true, or say no, that's not accurate, okay, let me go back in, let me double check this information, let me see, maybe I am incorrect. But don't throw away the information I gave you, Because a lot of times clients will go home and then something happens and it's like, oh my gosh, that is exactly what Sean said. Wow, okay, I didn't know this at the time, but he did. I recently had a client, someone they knew was having an issue, and I said, there's something wrong with this person's father. He's sick, something's off, something's wrong. It's not good, but this is contributing to your friend's negative behavior. The client said, no, there's nothing wrong with their father. Their father's not in their life, yada, yada, yada. I said, okay, I'm just saying what I get. 3 days later, I get a call. Oh my God, I spoke to that person today. They just found out today their father's dying. I full on believe that we can perceive on a psychic level when something is wrong with someone that is related to us, even if we don't know them, even if we're not around them. And I believe that's what was happening to this person's friend. That there was a feeling in their soul that something was off, and they've been acting off for a few days. And so I didn't know that person's father was having issues. My client didn't know that person's father was having issues, and they discounted it. That's fine. I'm not mad at that. I'm glad the client held on to the information and was able to later validate it because it was important for their friend's healing. And so when you see a psychic, even if you think they're wrong, unless they're blatantly and vulgarly wrong, hold on to the information. Don't discount it. Don't throw it away. Don't trash it. Don't Control-Alt-Delete end task. Don't remove this information from your memory. Hold on to it. But say no. Say no. By all means, say no. Because it is about what you understand at that moment. But take it with you when you leave. Okay? So psychic readings are really about helping you understand where you are with your life. When I've gotten readings, I don't get readings very often, and so because I have my guides, and my guides yell at me all the time, and so they're always telling me how to correct the BS that I do, and so I don't get readings very often, but when I do, I have a select couple of people that I go to when I need unbiased information. My mother is a major guide of mine. Marie Laveau is a guide of mine, which I say reluctantly because some people don't understand her. I have Mother Mary as a guide of mine. When I feel lost and I'm going through something that's kind of emotional, I expect my mother to be there to help cheer me up. I expect Mother Mary to be there to cheer me up. And so sometimes I don't trust that the information I'm getting from them is accurate because maybe I'm making myself hear them when they're not actually speaking to me. So I have a couple of people, one or two in particularly, that I go to read on situations. Doctors don't treat themselves. Lawyers don't represent themselves. Therapists see their own therapists. Why would a psychic not see another psychic? So just remember that, everyone can be wrong. But those who do it with love and those who do psychic readings with love and honesty in mind, trust what they tell you, but if it's wrong, say no, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So why? Back to the topic at hand. Why get a psychic reading? When you feel like your life is going in a direction or things are going on in your life that you are unsure about, and you've asked questions in other ways and you've gotten answers from other people, but you still feel unsure about what's going on in your life, in your daily life, see a psychic. Go to a psychic, get a psychic reading, get a tarot reading, get rune readings, whatever sort of reading you want, tea leaf readings, whatever's fine, whatever you feel drawn to, but you're wanting a psychic reading. Day-to-day life stuff is psychic reading. It's not so much about healing as it is about information. That is why you would get a psychic reading. So, why would you get a mediumship reading? So, mediumship is the art and the skill, is the art of being able to communicate with loved ones who have crossed over into spirit, who have died, and relay validatable information that brings understanding and validation to life after death. We as mediums work to provide evidential information that validates that when your loved one passes away, when they die, their soul in its consciousness continues on the other side. That death is simply a transformation from one existence to a different existence. Is an art that those of us who practice it will practice until the day we die, and then cross over and do it on the other side. It's not something that you just up and do. It's something that takes a lot of patience, a lot of trust, a lot of hope and faith and hard work, and a lot of calling. As a medium, you are a instrument for the voice of spirit. You are there to help people heal from grief. You are there to help people heal from trauma. You are there to help people heal in general. When I say the word heal, I do not mean in a medical sense of the way. I mean in an emotional sense of the way. I am an ordained minister. I have this for more legal protections. I do have this for spiritual desires. Like I've worked very, very hard to, I've worked really hard in my life to be able to speak from a place of expertise on spiritual matters and spiritual healing. And one of the things that I worked really, really hard for in my training as a mystic and as a healer that I looked forward to was to be ordained. I wanted to be able to consider myself a priest, minister, whatever you want to call it. And I have been for about 3 years, about 4 years. And so it's not something I talk about often. But in mediumship, it comes up a lot because we offer spiritual healing in mediumship. And as a priest and a minister in Louisiana, we're protected and we're covered through religious practice to be able to counsel people on a spiritual level. And so we're allowed to call ourselves spiritual counselors. And I don't do therapy, but I do relay messages from loved ones who have crossed over. And in that process of relaying those messages from loved ones, people find healing through grief. And something about being a priest, really, being a minister, really brings that home for me to do that. And I work really hard to give loving, healing, honest messages from your loved ones. And mediumship is difficult. It's easy. It's very easy, but it's very, very difficult because it has to come from a place of unbiased information from the medium. And the medium has to be in a place of good energy. And the people who come to us are sad, they're grieving, they're in pain, they're in sorrow, they're going through a lot in their lives. They're feeling very, very lost, but it's not about what's in their lives, it's about what's not in their lives, which is their loved ones. And getting a reading from a medium is all about healing. So, a medium can help in a number of ways. There are two types of medium. Well, that's a lie. There's a few types of mediums. There's a mental medium, which is what I do. I relay messages from loved ones, either in an individual or group session, where I speak to multiple people at once in the living and relay messages from people on the other side, or I do one-on-one sittings with clients and bring through loved ones for them. A mental medium is someone who makes a mental connection with the spiritual being that has the spiritual person who has crossed over. Physical medium is someone who, through having a very strong connection with spirit, can produce physical phenomenon such as table tipping. Things in the room may appear or disappear, which is called apport and asporting. Apporting or deporting, that's what I call it. Things might move, lights might flicker, there might be sounds or visuals in the room that everyone in the room present can hear or see, regardless of being a medium or not. Physical mediums can produce an energy through working with spirit that allows them to produce physical experiences for everyone involved. And then there is trance mediums who are capable, who practice and work really, really hard to get to a place where their consciousness takes a step back and the spirit speaks through them, through their mouth, just like I'm talking to you now, but it'll be another spirit speaking, to relay messages through a direct voice message. And these can all have very different healing properties. The voice in a trance medium will change. It'll sound like someone else. And a lot of times you can receive healing from hearing this person's voice that you haven't heard in a long time. A physical medium doing table tipping or doing a seance or apporting a token of a loved one can be very healing in helping you see and experience the power of spirit. And a mental medium can provide information that you have no way of knowing, and the medium has no way of knowing, but the only person who would have been able to know this would have been the loved one that's communicating. And so mediumship has so many levels of being able to be healing, and it's done through different types of mediumship. And some people are all three. Some people can provide mental communication, trance, and physical. Some just do, not that they can't, but some only work with trance or physical. Some work with just physical. Whatever they want to do is their choice. It's sort of like someone who goes to become a chef. Some love to cook on the barbecue. Some just want to be pastry chefs. Some do it all. It's just where your passions lie. For me, my passion is in being a mental medium. And I also love table tipping. I don't do a lot of it. It's something that I will work on going further, but I love working as a mental medium. And I like relaying messages from loved ones, and I like channeling messages from spirits like Mother Mary to bring healing to clients and to people that I meet. And why would you get a mediumship reading? Well, sometimes you just need to hear your mom call you pumpkin. Sometimes you just need to hear your mom or your grandmother, your dad or your brother, whoever's passed, tell you something that they only ever used to tell you. Sometimes we need to remember that just because we can't see the actor on the stage, it doesn't mean they're not still playing the part. Just because you don't see your mother or your dad or your brother, your aunt, your child, doesn't mean they're not there. It just means you're not able to perceive them at that time. And sometimes, and a lot of times, and most of the time, that alone can help someone out of a funk, out of a depression, out of a sadness, help them find direction. It's not about saying, hey, turn left. Sometimes it's about reminding them that those who they love the most and miss the most are still on this journey with them, though apart, are still aware and conscious and with them every day. And that can be tremendously healing for someone in their journey in life. And when I say I do mediumship for healing, I do mediumship to help people heal. I'm not a sideshow act. I don't work at a carnival. I'm not the great medium mystic. I am Sean Michael Rutherford, psychic medium, who's here to help you heal. And while I will absolutely take on readings of people who just want to hear loved ones, I work to help people who need healing. I work to provide messages for people who are in need of a healing that can only come through mediumship. I won't use it as a sideshow trick. I won't let somebody, hey, let me talk to a loved one. I'll take clients. I'll do the work if you ask me for it. But the ones who get the best readings, the ones who get the best information, are those who genuinely need to hear from a loved one. And those who are genuinely grieving. And I'm not saying that you can't get an amazing reading if you're not grieving. But mediumship is not a psychic practice. It is a healing practice. It is not a game or a toy. It is a healing art form. And I strive so hard to get people to understand that, because while it's perfectly okay to get readings, even if you're not in the need of healing, going into it with the understanding of what it is helps you get a better reading. If you go into it and you're like, I can't wait to talk to my mom. I'm going to talk to my mom. My mom's going to come through. Everything's going to be great. You might get a really good reading. If you go into it with, I wonder who in spirit would like to give me a message. I wonder who I need to hear. Who do I need to hear from today to help me heal? If you go into it like that, you're going to get a great reading. You're going to get an amazing reading, because spirit can provide that healing versus proving to you that your mom is okay. Proving to you that they heard you talking about your mother. I've had readings where the loved one comes through and it's like a friend of the family. And my client's like, well, that's not really who I want to talk to. And I'm like, I understand that. But this is who came through. And I said, let's see what they have to hear. Let's hear what they have to say. And, I'm going to relay their messages and we'll see. And they ended up validating, yes, this is this person. I know who this is, yada, yada, yada. They validate everything. And in the process, this person talks about something that happened to them that the client is going through. That's healing. I've had loved ones on the other side mention other loved ones. Oh, there's a woman here. They're talking about, oh, you have mother in spirit. Yes. Oh, okay. Well, they want you to know that blah, blah, blah. They'll describe this mother figure and validate information about this mother figure. Even though the communicator is not the mother, the communicator is talking about the mother that is in spirit and giving actual evidential validations. Because what is more interesting and what's more healing than having someone you expected to hear from come through, or having someone you didn't expect to hear from come through, validate they are who they are, and then talk about the person that you wanted to hear from and give validations about them as well. That's how spirit works. That's how mediumship works. It's not just about giving you what you want. It's about giving you what you need. And a lot of times what you need is to understand that spirit exists. Your loved ones are okay. Trust in spirit. And so go into a mediumship reading with the understanding of that the person who comes through is the person you need to hear from most. And allow yourself to be open-minded. Be aware of the healing. Much like you would go to the hospital. You go to the hospital and you keep yourself open-minded for whatever they find. You let them run all the tests. You go in there and you're like, okay, I know this is what I'm going in here for, but I'm going to let them run all the tests. I'm going to let them give me all the information, and then we're going to go forward. Do the same thing with a medium. Go to the medium and say, I'm here to hear whatever I get. And enjoy the stories. One of the things I love when it comes to being a medium is sharing the stories of the spirits who come through. They love giving me stories to tell. They know I hear them. They love sharing stories. They know I'm a storyteller. They know that I love talking about people and their lives and laughing with them and crying with them and feeling the gambit of emotions. And they will give me their stories. They will tell me so much that that they went through, not because it's important for your life, but because they want you to know that they're there. Grandma wants to come in and talk about how she met your dad, your grandfather. Your auntie wants to come in and talk about how she never had kids because she was worried about being famous. Your mama wants to come through and talk about how she really doesn't like the fact that you didn't get the recipes that she left you correct. Like, they want to come through and talk about fun, happy, loving, exciting stuff. And a lot of times people just want to hear sad, boring information. Grandma gonna come through and talk about how she used to whip your brother with a wooden spoon because he would mess around in the kitchen and break a pot. Grandpa wants to talk about how he used to make you mow the lawn with a push mower and used to sweat, and then he'd ride out on the riding lawnmower making fun of you. Like, I swear there's somebody here talking about that. But because that was really specific. But you have to go to a medium with the open mind of what comes through is what is needed. But what happens if you go to a medium and you're truly in this place of there is XYZ information about XYZ person, and this is the one thing that I need to hear about? Well, you have to trust that that's going to come through without that being the only thing on your mind. You can't go in there and expect to funnel all of spirit through a single desire. The more closed off the client is, the less spirit can connect with you to inspire the medium. And I tell this to everybody. Your mood, your energy, your attitude dictates the reading. A mediumship reading is never just spirit. A mediumship reading is 60-40 psychic medium. All mediums are psychic, okay? In order to be a great medium, you have to be a great psychic. And where that comes in is that we pick up your energy. We use your energy as the lightning rod to get spirit to come through. Because your loved ones don't want to talk to us, they want to talk to you. Your grandma, as fabulous as I am, your grandmother does not want to talk to me. Your grandfather does not want to talk to me. They're there to talk to you. And so we use your energy. We fill ourselves with your energy and use that as a signal into spirit to say, hey, I have this person. Come talk to your loved one. And if your energy is very, very closed off and we can't produce a good signal because you're so focused, so singularly focused on one thing, we can't produce that energy to get a great reading. And it can happen. It's just might take a little bit longer. We might have to, I know that a lot of times what I do, I would try to make my client laugh. I try to be goofy like I'm being goofy now. I try to lighten up the mood. I try to crack jokes. I give psychic information. I get them moving. Some psychics make clients cry. Not like, we don't just make you cry. Like we give information. We give honest information that has an emotional response. Because the more emotional response you provide, the better we can signal your loved ones and the better we can bridge that divide. But I prefer to do it through laughter because if you're going to cry, I want them to be healing tears. I want them to be tears of moving through grief. I don't want them to be tears because I intuitively, energetically punched you in the gut and now you're crying because I said something emotional. That's not how I work. And I don't judge others how they work. I just prefer to make people laugh because I'm a goofball. Laughter is a beautiful, beautiful medicine. And it is great at getting loved ones to come through because they love seeing you laugh and seeing you happy. So don't find it weird if you get a reading from me and I start making you crack, after I start cracking jokes and making you laugh. Because I'll be very honest, as serious and healing as mediumship is, your loved ones are happy and they're well and they're in spirit and they're cutting cartwheels and they're playing poker and they're doing all these wonderful things on the other side, living their lives on the other side in spirit, and they're joyous and they are bright and they're excited and they love to laugh. And being a medium can be so easy when the client and the medium have a connection, when they can laugh and they can enjoy each other's company, and there's not a strain on I have to hear from this and I want to hear from this. And the best readings I have ever given, the best mediumship readings I have ever given have been an accident. I've been at my friend's shop, the Witch Depot, and one of her clients would come through and we'd all just start talking, and all of a sudden a loved one would walk in the room and I'd stop and I'd say, hi, my name's Sean, I'm a medium. Would you like a reading today? And they were like, sure. All of a sudden their grandmother's in the room like, look child, look, I'm here, so-and-so, remember me? Remember how I used to feed your little brother with this wooden spoon when he'd want to taste because he was being bad and bratty and he wouldn't settle down until I gave him a taste of food. And they would just start giving me all this information because it was easy. It was a relaxed atmosphere. The tension wasn't there, and it was just conversational and fun because their loved ones weren't there to Their loved one didn't show up to mark an X on a test, to prove that they were there. They showed up to give love. They showed up because they were there. They showed up because the client was good. You know, the client needed to hear this loving message from this loved one, but they were good. And so, mediumship readings, why get a mediumship reading? Because you want to hear from loved ones. You want to know that they're there. You need healing. But when you go get a mediumship reading, stop, take a breath, and walk into it with, I'm going to hear from loved ones today. And regardless of who comes through, I'm going to know, and I'm going to realize that all my loved ones are okay. Because if one comes through, they're all there. And that's why you get a mediumship reading. So, the next type of reading that I provide is a past life / Akashic record reading. And, eyelash, in my eyeball. Okay. One, what is a past life reading / Akashic record reading? So the Akashic records are the spiritual library, the spiritual records of everything that has ever happened in the universe and ever will happen. And so when I read past lives, I read on where the person's soul has been in previous incarnations, and it helps give a roadmap on what the person has been through and why they might be going through certain things again. The soul is here to experience life and living. There are certain lessons the soul has chosen, just like when we go to college, we choose a course load. Some people are art majors, some people are science majors, some people, unfortunately, are math majors because I don't know why, math is boring. Just kidding. For all those math majors out there, math is important. And so people choose a different course load based on their enjoyment, based on what they're good at, based on what they love to do. And much like when you go to college, even as an art major, you have to take math classes. Even as a science major, you have to take an English class. Sometimes there's lessons and there's things that we have to go through and learn that do not directly connect into our chosen course of study. And those lessons are there to expand our awareness and our knowledge and our minds. And the soul does the same thing. The soul may say, I need to understand what it's like to die traumatically. The soul might say, I need to know what it's like to fly. So I might be a skydiver. The soul might say, I need to learn peace. So I'll be a monk and I'll learn to meditate. The soul might say, I need to learn what it's like to have premenstrual menstruation. So I'll be a woman. I might need to know what it's like to be a male. I'll know what it's like to be neither. So I'll be non-binary. Or I'll learn what it's like to love a man, but I want to be a male. So I'll be gay. I need to understand humility, so I'll be in a life where I tend to be wrong a lot or challenged a lot. I need to know what it's like to be confident, so I'll be in a world where I have to learn to be confident. The soul goes through a lot of lessons in order to better understand the grandness that is life. And if you look at life and what it is to live, you'll understand that there's no A, B, C through Z. There's billions and trillions and incalculable amounts of ways to live. You can be an amazing person and then at the age of 20 become schizophrenic. Not that they're bad people, but you can have a life where everything seems correct and that you're seeing the world accurately and have a clean bill of health, and then at 19, 20 develop schizophrenia. In your 30s, you can develop bipolar. For someone who has previously never experienced or had bipolar tendencies. You go through these experiences and one thing happens and another thing happens. And the point of a lot of it is for the soul to experience that avenue of living and of life and healing. And sometimes it's about experiencing something that requires you to get healing, and sometimes it's about experiencing something that requires you to become a healer. And that can be difficult. The loss of my mother was my catalyst to truly delve into being a healer, delve into being a medium, and push myself past my comfort zone to be great. And I believe that a few years late, I delved into mediumship as soon as she died. I worked really, really hard to delve into my greatness and go into being a medium. And I feel like I went into doing this full-fledged a few years later when I finally moved out on my own. And so my soul needed to experience certain things. And now I'm going through certain things, like legal actions, with the secession and whatnot of my father's property, because I don't understand how legal processes work. And this is a great opportunity to learn these things because it might come up in a reading and it's tough and I dislike it with intense fervor. But it's teaching me something and I'm choosing to learn this part of life. And so when we go through things in our lives, our soul is assimilating that information, and that information gets filed away in a filing cabinet for later. So we reincarnate and we go, okay, I've been through this, I've done this, let me do X, Y, and Z now. Well, it can carry over traumas, it can carry over pain. So we can have irrational fears. We can have things that we don't understand why we have them. And a past life reading helps us to understand why we do. So for instance, I have a fear of drowning in the ocean. I have a fear of the ocean sucking me down. And I'm an amazing swimmer. I've been swimming since I was a very small child. My mother put me in swim lessons very young because she almost died. She almost drowned in a pool when she was young. And she wanted me to sure that I was a great swimmer. And I love to swim. I love being in the water. I love being near the water. When I'm on the beach near the ocean, I become very anxious. I keep feeling like something's going to grab me and pull me down. I have had 2 past life readings where both times it has been explained to me that I was a captain of a ship who went down with the ship, and that in the process of the ship sinking, it created a vortex of an undertow that grabbed me and pulled me down. And I had slipped and fell while playing on these cliffs, where I slipped and fell, hit my head, ended up in the ocean, and I was eaten by some sort of like shark predator, which grabbed me and pulled me down. And so this was validated before I mentioned these fears that I had had since I was very young. And I've since learned to help get past them, but I never understood why I had them. These past life readings helped with that. And so what it allowed me to do was heal from that and realize that okay, this is very unlikely to happen again, as I'm not the captain of a ship. And so, and best believe that if the ship starts going down, I will find a way to save myself. And so, in the hopes of saving other people in the process. But I have these experiences that I could never really explain. And so past life readings helped me understand what happened. It also helped me understand why I work with Marie Laveau the way I do. Apparently I was like a personal assistant to hers. I was someone who helped her in her life. And we became friends, and I died tragically. And now we work on a soul level, you know. I've had past lives where I've been a shaman. I've had past lives when I've been a priest. I've had past lives. I've been a nun in a past life. I believe that I've been a Carmelite nun in a past life, because every time I hear about Carmelite nuns, I immediately become very centered within myself and feel the need to pray. And I work with Mother Mary very closely, and she always laughs like I don't know why I work with her, because I don't really know why she worked with me when it started. And then I remembered later that I was a nun in a past life. And I have a friend of mine who used to be a Carmelite nun, and when she told me that, I became very overwhelmed. And I was like, I need you to pray over me. I need you to pray over me as a Carmelite nun. And she has offered to do so. And I knew within my soul that I wasn't just a nun, that I was a Carmelite nun. And so there was all these experiences in my life that I couldn't really explain. Past life readings explained them in ways that I couldn't figure it out in other avenues. And so as someone who does past life readings, it helps to bring information to you that can't really be received on a psychic level, because it's not within your existence in this life. The things that you're experiencing didn't happen to you in this life. They happened to you in a different life. You were a different person in that life. So the energy is very different. And a lot of some psychics are not capable or educated on how to pick up that information. It's locked in your soul, and they have to be able to do soul readings in order to get that information. Or go to the Akashic Records like I do. I do soul readings and I do Akashic Record readings. And so I can either get it from your soul, which is how I started doing past life readings, or from your Akashic Record book, which is how I do it a lot of times now. It gives insight to the depth and the education of where your soul has been. It's sort of like I'm in college, I'm in my third year of college, and I'm going to study World Civilization 2. Well, I've studied World Civilization 1, so I know I should be able to do World Civilization 2. And I feel like I should also study art history in this class, because art was a big form of how people communicated long time ago. And so I haven't studied that yet. Let me study that now. By looking back on what your soul has studied in the past, you can look ahead and plan a better avenue of direction of where you're going forward. Psychic readings, with me at least, when I do a past life reading or I do an Akashic Record reading, always become a psychic reading. Because while I am reading you on a soul level and an Akashic level, I always give more information about how to use the information I'm giving you to grow and be better. And so it's a way of looking at the map of where you've been to know where you're headed. So why would you get a past life reading? You would get a past life reading when you want information of where you've been and you want to know what roads you've traveled, because you're not really sure how you got to where you are in your life in this current reincarnation. Why get a past life reading? Because you want your soul's history. You want information on your soul's journey. So, why get a psychic reading? Since we're going to go sort of sum everything up. Why get a psychic reading? One, helps with the discussion and higher perception of things that are going on in your life currently, or going to happen, or may have previously happened in this life, that could be holding you back or causing you to be a bit off track. It gives you a better bird's eye view of your life and the things that are going on in your current life, where you are and where you want to be. Helps you find direction. 2, why get a mediumship reading? I'm gonna switch to this hand. 2, why get a mediumship reading? Because you feel the need of a healing, and you need and want to hear from a loved one who has crossed over into spirit, and they are the catalyst for that healing, because you miss them, or your grief has not been able to heal correctly, or you feel as though something might be missing in your life, and mediumship can help alleviate that and heal that by communicating with a loved one who's crossed over. 3, past life. Why get a past life reading? A past life reading gives information on your soul's journey in previous incarnations, so you can see where you have gone on the map of your life before, to help you figure out where you are now and where maybe you should go forward. Those are the 3 readings that I provide, and the differences of why you would get one or the other. Versus. If you have any questions about getting a session with me or getting a reading, either a psychic tarot reading, a mediumship reading, or a past life Akashic record reading, you know how to reach me. Contact me either through Facebook, facebook.com/Psychic Sean. You can go to my website, psychic-sean, that's SEAN.com, or you can contact me through email, that is Sean, SEAN, Rutherford, RUTHER, F as in Frank, ORD, 27 at yahoo.com. I am always looking forward to helping people who are in need of help and who would like to reach out and understand their souls and their journey and their lives in a deeper, higher perspective. And it is my pleasure and my honor to provide these services for you. If you ever have any questions about what I do and how all this works, or about setting up sessions, or you want to just have a chat about any questions that I may not have answered here, comment your questions below or contact me. Again, there's a plethora of information on my website, psychic-sean.com. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you have a wonderful day, and as always, in love and light.